Good morning students. Welcome to biology class. I hope you all are fine and have gone through the yesterday's video. In the yesterday's lecture, we started another chapter, that is our environment. We discussed about what is an ecosystem, how the ecosystem functions as a self-sustained unit, what are the various components of the ecosystem, what are abiotic components, what are the biotic components, and later in the chapter we discussed about the producers, consumers and decomposers, and most importantly the importance or the dual role played by decomposers. Now the further topics in the chapter include food chains, food webs, various trophic level, pyramids of numbers and 10% law. Let us first discuss with what are the food chains and food webs. What is a food chain? You have studied in junior classes also. Food chain is a sequence of living organisms exhibiting who eats whom. That is, there are living organisms in which one consumes the other. For example, within a food chain, grass is eaten by the deer, deer is eaten by lion. Same way, the food chain can consist of 3 steps or 4 steps, but there is always unidirectional flow of energy, that is from the producer to the primary consumer to the secondary consumer and to the tertiary consumer. Here it is an example of 4-step food chain where grass is eaten by the insect such as grasshopper, which is eaten by the frog, and frog is further eaten by the bird. Another example includes plants are eaten by the worms, worms are eaten by the birds, and birds are eaten by the cats. These food chains maintain a particular balance in the ecosystem, particular environment. If any of the step of this particular food chain gets disturbed and the balance of the ecosystem gets disturbed. What are food webs? Many interconnected food chains form the food webs. Here you could see one example. See, this is the first food chain in which plant is eaten by the rabbit, rabbit is eaten by the hog. Second food chain includes the plants are eaten by the rat, rat is eaten by hog. But these rats forming the second trophic level here are also the part of another food chain, which is the third one, where the rats could be eaten by the snake and snake could be eaten by hog. Again, now snakes are the part of another food chain where plants are eaten by the grasshopper, which is further eaten by the snake and further eaten by hog. Same way, plants are eaten by the birds and the birds are eaten by the hog. So these interconnected food chains where the component of one of the food chain could be a part of another food chain, this network of food chains is called a food web. In every food chain, there are the various levels. Each food chain begins with the producer and ends in a large carnivore. Producers, then we have the consumers. In the consumers, herbivores are the primary consumers. Carnivores, small carnivores are the secondary consumers, and the large carnivores or the top carnivores are the tertiary consumers. Now, what are trophic levels? The various steps in the food chains through which the transfer of food energy takes place are known as the trophic levels. Producers form the first trophic level of a chain, then primary consumers, then secondary consumers, and the tertiary consumers form the fourth trophic level. These trophic levels within a food chain are represented in a way that producers are always present at the base and the top carnivores form the upper part. In this, why it has been given a pyramid shape? Because the number of organisms from the producer to the consumer in a food chain that are dependent on the previous organisms goes on decreasing. That is why the various trophic levels of a particular food chain are represented by pyramid of numbers. In this pyramid, producers or the plants or they form the base of the pyramid, and the tip of the pyramid is formed by the top carnivore. Consider the example. In this particular food chain, grass, which are the producers, is the first trophic level, it is the second trophic level, it is the third trophic level, and this one is the fourth trophic level. They are present at the base, it is in the maximum amount. Then the primary consumers or the insect, their number is comparatively lesser. Then frogs are comparatively lesser in number, and then becomes the birds or the hawks which eat the frog. They form the top carnivore. Now, as we all know that the energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just gets transformed from one form to the other form. Same happens in the ecosystem. The energy gets transferred from the one trophic level, that is from the organisms at the one trophic level, to the organisms at the other trophic level, and which, remember this thing, that flow of energy is always unidirectional, but the flow of materials is cyclic. What is the difference? It will be more clear to you once you understand the 10% law. The 10% law for the transfer of energy from one trophic level to the other trophic level says that the amount of energy available to the organisms at a particular trophic level is only 10% of that energy is transferred to the organisms at the other trophic level. Remaining 90% of the energy is lost into the environment, that is dissipated into the environment in the form of heat. Remember this thing, producers, they trap only, that is utilize only 1% of the solar energy, light energy available to them. Suppose if there is 1000 joules of energy available from sun, that from that 1000 joule only 1% will be available to the producers, will be trapped by the producers. So that means producers have 10 joules of energy with them. Out of these 10 joules, 90% will be lost as heat and 10% will be transferred to the herbivores, which are the primary consumers. So what would be the 10% of 10 joules? 10% of 10 joules will come out to be 1 joule only. So herbivores have 1 joule of energy available with them. Again, the herbivores will transfer 10% of 1 joule to the carnivores, small carnivore. That is, from here again 90% is lost in the environment. From here 1 joule, the 10% of 1 joule will come out to be 0.1 joules, which is available to the carnivore. Then it will be 0.01 joule available to the top carnivore. So the law states that 10% of the energy is available to the organisms at the next trophic level. But from here, we deduce that the energy available with the organisms at the last trophic levels is quite less. This is the reason that a perfect food chain can have maximum of 4 to 5 trophic levels. The food chains greater than 5 trophic levels is not possible to exist because the energy available to the last organisms, that is the organisms at the last trophic level, will be quite less, which is insufficient for their survival. Now the question arises, we said that the flow of energy is unidirectional. Why? Because the 90% of the energy which is lost into the environment as heat cannot be utilized by the plants again. But everywhere, in the last lecture also we discussed that the materials, maybe the carbohydrates, maybe the proteins, maybe the fats, they all are returned back into the atmosphere. Plants utilize inorganic substances, carbon dioxide, water, and they absorb the nitrogen from the soil. Ultimately, by the carbon cycle or by the water cycle or by the nitrogen cycle, all these materials are returned back into the atmosphere. But energy cannot be returned. That is why we say flow of energy is unidirectional, but flow of materials is cyclic. This is very important question. How will you prove? Another question is, why the top number of trophic levels in a particular food chain is limited? What is 10% law? Why the carnivores or the top carnivores, they are lesser in number? The last topic for today is effect of man's activities in disturbing the balance of the ecosystem. See beta, within any particular food chain, if in any way one trophic level is affected, entire food chain gets affected. For this, consider a particular food chain that is made of grass is eaten by the deer and deer is eaten by the lion. What happens if all the lions are removed? If all the lions are removed from this food chain, the population of deer or the herbivore or the grass eating animals will get increased, and ultimately there will be more organisms to feed on the particular grassland in a particular grassland ecosystem. When the entire grass will continue to be eaten, that area will get converted into the desert. The formation of Sahara Desert is the example of effect of man's activity. When Romans, they used to capture lion, a time came that the number of lions got decreased, which resulted in the increase in the number of sheep and other grass eating and deers and other grass eating animals, which converted the green area of Sahara Desert into present day desert. Our own Rajasthan desert is the result of man's activities disturbing the balance of the ecosystem. Another, if suppose the deer are removed from a particular ecosystem, if deer will be removed, then the lion, they feed on deer, so there will be deficiency of food for the lions and lions will die of starvation. What if grass, which is the first trophic level, it is completely removed from a particular ecosystem? Then there will be no producers. If there is no grass, no deer, no lion, no ecosystem will exist and entire will get vanished. So there is a balance there is a significance of each trophic level. If any of the step of a food chain in any ecosystem gets disturbed, the entire balance gets disturbed. Thank you.